Welcome into another edition of NewOrleans.Football. As always, we are presented by PJ's Coffee, the best coffee shop in the land. They're getting ready to add some new stuff to their menu, so make sure you're in there to check some of that out. And also presented by Matt Bauer's Auto Group. As always, they have the new Ford dealership on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, and right under our studio, they have the new pre-owned dealership. So make sure you go check them out if you want to be riding clean this Easter Sunday. It's going to be nice out there, so make sure that you clean.
Yeah, something with the top down.
Something with there you go, Mike. That's what I like to hear, man. Let's get into our first segment, man. It's draft time. You know, we're past that week mark. Now it's just a countdown of single digit days to get
It's draft week, technically.
Technically speaking, it is draft week. So let's get into our first segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. We've been talking about this whole kind of ever since Kellen Moore got drafted, where the draft was. That's like when draft became. Ever since Kellen Moore got hired, that's when the draft just became like the big topic. We talked about what they might do at 9, they might do at 40. Who should it be? Should it be a running back? Should it be a quarterback? Should it be a receiver? Derek Carr got hurt, then that made quarterback talk go up. But what does a trade back look like? What does that scenario look like? Is that a reality that's on the table? Is that a possibility?
I think that's what they should do. I mean, easy for me to say now. Like I say this all the time. Here's my disclaimer is if they're sitting there at 9 and they've got their number 5, number 6 guy on the board, take him. Like I can look at the draft and say, oh, all the guys at 9 are the same as the guys at 19. I can say that. But if they've got their number 5 guy on the board at number 9 and his magnet is all there in its own tier and everybody else is in another tier, you take the guy. So I'm not saying that, but I do think more than like we do these mock draft exercises every week. Check it out on the site. Me and Nick just did another one the other day. And for me, it's threefold, really. It's I like so many of these guys going in the 20s. I like a couple offensive linemen there. I think the corners come into play there. I think some extra receivers come into play. I know you've heard me say how much I like Ibuka from Ohio State. I just, and frankly, if you trade down to 1920 now, maybe you can start thinking about a quarterback that might not make sense at 9. I really like being there so much more. Now, look, we know the Saints don't operate that way. Just asked Mickey Loomis about this about a month ago, and he still just went into this diatribe. He goes, when you trade up, this is why the Saints have traded up like 20 straight times since 2007, since the last time they traded down. He said, when you trade up, you're going to get a guy. You're going to get a guy you love. You're doing it for a reason because you love this guy. When you trade down, you don't know who you're going to get. You're trading down for, boy, I hope it works out for us. And that's why they don't like to do it. But we are talking about a Saints team and we're going to talk about this later. What do they need most? It's like a 5-way tie. They need every position. They need bodies in here. They need to replenish their youth. And this does feel like a draft. This is what experts are saying. Analysts are saying it does feel like a spot where once you get past that top 5, the player you're picking at 10 and the player you're picking at 20, there's not a ton of separation. So easy for me to say I'd like them to do that. But just, I thought it'd be worth going through an exercise and being like, all right, what would that look like? And so I went through the numbers and the history of it. Basically, teams have been following this trade value chart pretty closely in recent years. I looked at every kind of similar trade I could find where teams were going up, down, around the 9th pick, anywhere in the teens, in the 20s. And they really do a good job of deciding, hey, just to make sure we both feel like this is fair, we'll throw in that extra 6th rounder. Let's make all the points add up. I actually found a trade from 2023 where the Lions and the Cardinals went from 12 to 6. The Cardinals moved up from 12 to 6, which is pretty similar. I couldn't find an exact match. And they exactly matched up on the trade chart. In order to do it, the Lions got the number 34 pick of the draft, which was a 2nd rounder, and a 5th, and then the Cardinals got a 3rd back. So it's a little confusing when they get all those picks in, but it shows you that they use this trade chart. So if you just want to know how could the Saints get a 2nd round pick, Saints could get a second round pick if they just move down to 17 or 18. That would be move down to 18, get a second round pick. I would love to see that for this team. One team I was looking at, it was pretty funny, is the Broncos at 20. We know Sean Payton loves to trade up. Everybody says nobody wants to trade up in this year's draft. Well, maybe Sean Payton would do it because he was part of this Saints team that traded up every year. If you go all the way down from 9 to 20, then Denver would owe like a second and a fourth. Actually, and the Saints would still be losing on the trade chart. It would almost be like the Denver would give you a second and a third. You'd have to give them back a sixth or something like that. If they could trade down 10 spots, 11 spots, 8 spots, get a second rounder or more,
You get a haul.
I would love it. Now, everybody is saying this is not the draft to do that because all teams believe the same thing, that 10 and 20, there's not a lot of separation. But teams always love a guy. I mean, we saw the Saints do this for Chris Olave in 2022. They moved up from 16 to 11, 5 spots. They gave up a third and a fourth to do that, to move up just 5 spots for Chris Olave. That Cardinals-Lions trade I was talking about, that was for Paris Johnson. There was a trade a couple of years ago. The Vikings, just last year, the Vikings gave a fifth, a future third, and a future fourth to move up from 23 to 17 for Dallas Turner. There was a trade up for Broderick Jones. Like you can say these guys aren't worth trading up for, but if teams love a guy, they trade up for them. So I would absolutely do that if I were the Saints.
Yeah, no, I mean, those scenarios that you just went through, I think it bodes well to bolstering the cupboard, having more people in the back end of the draft that not even really the back end, because that's just the second round and you'll get third too. Those are your top level players that you're going to have on this team for years to come. But it's funny that you stopped at pick 20 because at pick 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yeah.
team that needs a quarterback, kind of what would that look like in a scenario of maybe, I'm not saying offload them like that, but what would kind of that compensation look like?
You're saying to move down from 9 to 20 or if
Yeah.
you're saying move up from 40, which I know we'll talk about later.
I'm about to say we're about to talk about going to 40, but moving from 9 to 20 and
Yeah.
and kind of the
So yeah, that's part of the reason I picked them.
yeah.
I mean, I looked at pick 20, and you're right. You're still in front of the Steelers. So I think this is, I'd move down to 20, even if I'm looking at, boy, I like a couple of these offensive tackles that aren't worth the 9th pick. Boy, I like a couple of these receivers that you can get at 20. I like the idea of moving down from 9 to 20. But yeah, that is an added element of this is if you're still in front of the Steelers, maybe you pick that quarterback that you want before they get in there. And like I said, I mean, if you follow the trade value chart, if they move from 9 to 20, Denver would owe them a second round pick, a fourth round pick, and more, which feels crazy. But let's say that everyone agrees, hey, the price is cheaper this year because the players just aren't there. Although it is funny, I've heard a lot of people say how badly Denver wants that joker running back. I mean, what if Ashton Genty is still there at 9? And Sean Payton's like, I'll give you guys a second and a third. I want Genty. It could be a win-win. But let's call it a second and a fourth. Let's call it a second and a third, and you have to give back a sixth. I think if you're going 9 all the way to 20. But like I said, just to keep it simple, you move down to 18, 9 to 18, you get a second round pick. 9 to 17, you might get a second round pick. And boy, that seems so worth it to me. But easy for me to say. Saints haven't done it in 18 years or whatever it's been for. It's a philosophy they just don't believe in. But if ever a team needed to do that, it's a Saints team that needs to rebuild their entire core from top to bottom this year. So I'd love to see it happen.
You heard about Genty's statement from yesterday that he put out?
Oh yeah, it was a good one. It's the tackle football one.
Yeah.
I draft the guy that nobody can tackle.
Exactly. I mean, hey man, I've never seen draft marketing kind of like that, but we're in that new era of it. But
he's not going to be available to the Saints at 9. He's not going to be available to the Broncos at 9. I have a feeling you got to get up above the Saints to take it.
You think you just got to go early? I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, okay, Genty is cool, but like, I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, you starting to switch?
That was a positive move for me.
Look, I think Genty's worth a top 10 pick, maybe a top 5 pick in this draft. His value, without question. I think the Saints are in a different place. They're not in the, but boy, if you're the Broncos and you could trade up into the top 10 and add Ashton Genty, like a team like that, I'd be like, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think Genty is the first piece of a rebuild. But boy, if you've already got some pieces in place, he is absolutely probably a top 5 talent in this draft.
Yeah, I think, but also just continuing on with the main topic, when you look in retrospect of every draft, you say,
Yeah.
man, this player was right here. We could have gotten him.
Yeah.
I really think about like Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson, how the Eagles took him and then the Vikings just were gifted Jefferson on a platter. Now he's like the top receiver
Yeah.
in the league. But if you feel the conviction,
Yeah.
and we've constantly said this throughout covering the draft, on a player that, this is the guy, instead of just making an exception or bending kind of on where
Yeah.
your rules are, then you might need to stay at 9, because now in
Yeah, of
terms of
course.
starting the rebuild, of course, with those second, third, fourth round draft picks, you can stockpile pieces that you're going to need. But if the difference maker in terms of
Yeah.
who you want to start off building your culture with is right there, I have to say you stay right there if you feel that conviction. Now, if you're wishy-washy on all of that,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a very simple formula. If Saints put a grade on every player, they put their magnets up on their board. There's some that gets adjusted a little bit based on need. I don't think need exists this year. I mean, they need everything. There was a really interesting conversation with is it the Raiders GM now, Spytech, or is it the Chargers GM? I'm getting confused. I think Spytech's with the Raiders now, but when he was with
They
the
change
Browns,
people so much over there.
when he was with the Browns once, he said they had 2 guys they really loved with the
That's
7th pick in the draft. Yeah, and one was Joe Hayden, and one was the safety who ended up going 5th that year. And they said, we were going back and forth, what if they're both on the board for us? They said one of the reasons we had decided we were going to go with Joe Hayden was because we loved TJ Ward, a safety that we thought for sure we could get in round 2. And so we thought, well, we'll take Hayden in round 1. We'll get our safety that we love in round 2. So decisions like that come into play all the time.
yeah.
Need does factor in. Some, the team might have a philosophy about running back. Look, we're not taking a tight end in round 1. We got to take a tackle or a defensive end in round 1. Those conversations do happen all the time. But in general, if you've got a cloud of 4 or 5 names and you'd be happy with all 4 or 5 of them, that's when you trade down. If you've got one name and it's a whole tier above every other name on the list, you either trade up or you take that guy. And unless we're in the draft room with the Saints and unless we're looking at that board, we can't say for them. And I don't disagree with that. Like, we've all done fantasy drafts. Like, if it's like, boy, I hope this one guy falls to me. You don't care what all the experts say. No, actually, all 4 of those guys are equal. You're like, no, I want Kyle Tucker. Like, I don't think Kyle Tucker is equal to everybody else. He's the one I've been praying would fall to me. I'm turning that pick in as soon as possible. And that's usually how it works out for the Saints.
Let's switch gears in this next one presented by Aaron Rose and go into pick 40. Are you trading up from there? They like to deal up. So are you trading up from there?
So I say trade down from 9, but I think trade up from 40. I mean, if you had to predict a Saints trade in this draft, this is probably the most likely scenario, right? So it's trade up from 40. So let's say they actually show the patience to stay at 9. They take that offensive tackle. They take Ginty. They take Tyler Warren, whoever that player is that they definitely want at 9. And now they're sweating. They're like, all right, we resisted the urge to take a quarterback at 9. I think you and I both agree right now it doesn't feel like they will. And we kind of hope they can get their quarterback, whether that quarterback is Tyler Shuck or Jackson Dart or even Shedeur Sanders, that maybe they could get that quarterback without having to use the 9th pick on them. But can you wait all the way till 40? So now, okay, what does it look like to move up? You said it. The Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting there at number 21. What does it take to move up?
Yeah.
Ahead of the Steelers from 40 to 20. And it's not that expensive. I mean, you move up from 40 to 20. Maybe it would cost you both of your thirds to go that far. And you get like a 6th rounder back. So you're giving up 40 and your 2/3 this year. And you get 20 and a 6th or something like that. simplify it a little bit more. If you just want to move up 10 spots to the 30th pick, that would cost you just that late third round pick, which is number 93. So you give up 40 and 93 to move up to 30. A little more expensive to move all the way up to 20. But even if you're moving all the way up to 20 and you're using both of those third rounders, I mean, if you have conviction on the quarterback, I'm willing to play around with those third round picks a little more. Now I'm not giving, I think there's a huge difference between second round pick and a third round pick. I kind of like the idea of that last third round pick too. If you're just moving up to 30, that's something I actually kind of predict we might see the Saints do. Move up 10 spots, give up the second, third round pick. But again, we're talking about a team that needs as many of these picks as they can to rebuild their roster. Do you have to sit at 40 and hope one of these guys falls to you, or can you get a little aggressive at this stage?
I think you get a little, if you don't take your quarterback at 9, if you stick at 9 and you don't take the quarterback, but you still feel highly about a guy that you can bring in here, help him compete in camp against Rattler, see kind of who gives you the best scenario, I say you take those later picks and start clacking them like dice and say, hey, are y'all listening? Because we out here throwing them. And then you throw them and then you see who are any takers are, because I can palate that more if it is a pick later, maybe even later in the first, but early in the second, something like that. It's more palatable than taking them at 9 for a not for sure thing. Now, all these draft picks, I think outside of maybe like 2 are, let's go 3. Let's be generous with 3, are, not for sure things. But I definitely think that it's more intriguing at that point.
But all right, let me tell you how you feel. Let's say this is the Saints draft. Let's call it Tyler Shuck. We've been leaning Tyler Shuck based on reporting what reporting is saying around the league. It could be Jackson Dart though. Whoever it is that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. Let's call it Shuck or Dart. Let's assume Shedeur Sanders is going too high for this experiment. What if it does cost you both thirds? What if your Saints draft is whoever you get at number 1? Who's your favorite guy at number 1? You got a name in your mind? Is it Tyler Warren? Is it Genty? Is it left tackle?
Nah, Genty calling everybody out. That's raised them up. But
let's call it Will Campbell. Let's call it Kevin Banks. Whoever your guy is. Yeah. Maybe you're a Ted McMillan guy. Whatever. Let's say you get that guy.
I'm Warren. Yeah. I go Warren.
Okay. Tyler Warren round 1. Tyler Shuck or Jackson Dart, who you just now traded up all the way up to 20 to get. You got 2 first-round picks in the fold, but you're not picking again till 4th round. Is it okay with you?
I would be sick. I'm not gonna lie. If they do all of that for like Jackson Dart, who I think he has good traits and stuff like that, but
it's tough. It's tough when you lay it out like that.
Yeah, when you presented it like that, I would.
I like the idea of Remy moving up to 30 and using that pick 93. So I still get that. Still get that pick 71. Now I get my first rounder, my late first rounder, and my early third, and then I'll play around with the rest. But boy, it would be tough to trade both thirds. It would be tough. Yeah, and here's the other possibility: it might be this year's second, next year's second. A lot of trades go that way too. Maybe that's what they're giving up. But I don't love the idea of giving up next year's second. But I'd be willing to do it. I just don't know that I can give up. I don't want my draft class to be that small. That's the problem. So maybe next year's second is the way to go.
Also, I mean, we're going to talk about it way later in the show. I'd rather it be small if these are productive players.
Yeah.
Because we talked about
You got to hit.
Exactly. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago on how many players have to hit for this to be a successful draft class, because whether you want it to or not, you're in the rebuild. That's just where you're at right now. So you need.
I wish they knew that. I hope they know that.
Look,
if you're in a rebuild, you need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Am I going to kill them for using 2 third-rounders on a quarterback? I mean, am I going to kill them for using 2 seconds on a quarterback? As long as they're not using 3 firsts, go. If they find the guy, I'm never going to care what they paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. We're going to hit a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have more show. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
the #1 grocery store
in Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our next segment. Mike, this is a move that we kind of knew a year in advance was going to happen, but now it's finally here. Ryan Ramczyk has retired. He didn't play at all last season. He was away from the team. When we saw him, I think it was maybe the Tampa Bay game or the Denver game. I forget what one of those games during that rough skid. And I was like, man, this dude is tiny. You know what I mean? Compared to what he was. But let's just reflect on Ram's career. Another one who has, stepped away from the game. And that just leaves AK from that draft class.
Isn't that crazy? 2017 draft class revolutionized this team. AK is the last man standing in New Orleans. Obviously, a lot of guys still around the league from that team, but Ramczyk was as important as any of them. He was one of those, we talk about the draft all the time. Needs. They had Zach Streif starting at right tackle. That wasn't a need pick. That was what a great value this guy is at 32. And then Zach Streif gets hurt in the summer, and lo and behold, Ryan Ramczyk starts every game for the next 4 years except for one, and he makes an All-Pro. He makes 2 second-team All-Pros. Foundational. I think when we talk about that 2017 draft class, we think right away of Kamara and Lattimore. Then our thoughts turn to Trey Hendrickson and what might have been. But man, Ramczyk was. I was wondering about this last night when I was writing about him. I don't think it's a stretch to say that if you took him at number 1 overall, that you'd be like, we hit on that pick. Like, that's how good he was. Obviously, only for 4 years. He then signs the 5-year, $96 million contract extension in 2021. I think he was the highest paid right tackle in NFL history, and the injury problems started soon after that. So just so symbolic of what went right from 2017 to 2020, and so symbolic of what has gone so unfortunately wrong for this team since 2021. Future Saints Hall of Famer, Saints legend. He'll be around. He's making the draft pick for him on TV. Way too short. He's about to turn 31. He was done playing before he was 30.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, he's lived an interesting life. Even just like conversations with him in the locker room and stuff. He's around. That's just who he is. But the injuries did begin to pile up towards him. But I want to take it kind of into another spot of, it's to the point now where you can kind of almost count on your hand the people who know what winning looks like in that locker room.
Man, you're not lying. You're not lying. I mean, and a couple of them, like Tyron and stuff, they won somewhere else,
Yeah.
Colin Saunders, etc. But guys, Cam is obviously still around. Alvin Kamara is still around. And look, that's why these guys are some of the most frustrated guys we talk to in the locker room. They're like, this ain't it. This ain't it. Ramczyk was here when it was it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, with him and Tehran in the same season, it's kind of the guard is changing, man. The
No
old
question.
guard is changing out, and that new culture being established. I mean, it has to get back to winning football because without that, you lose it. You
Yeah,
just
no
lose it
question.
completely. Now, that's going to help us transition into our next segment presented by Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant and Bar. Ram was a good pick. He did what he had to do. He's not in the building anymore. He wasn't in the building last year, but he's completely out now. It's done. So, who's a bigger must? Do you go get the cornerback? Do you get an offensive lineman? Do you get a pass catcher? Who you gonna get, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think of a must as we talked about it. Probably first 3 picks, top 71. I mean, you're talking about someone who can really help your team in those top 71 picks. So first rounder, second rounder, third rounder. We've done a few different mocks, and it's like you take the best available player here. Maybe you take your quarterback here. But what's the position you can be like, whoa. We're here in the 4th round, and we haven't addressed this one yet? Oh, no. And I think that is the offensive line. For me, and I'm talking about a 3-way tie photo finish here between those 3 positions you just said. But if they get past pick 71 and they haven't touched an offensive lineman yet, and I think that's part of the opportunity too. I like guys available at 9. I like guys available at 40, and I like guys available at 71. Once you get to 71, you're looking at some top guards maybe as well as tackle. I think I would hate it most if they go through. If we leave the facility Friday night and they haven't touched an offensive lineman yet. Now, obviously, cornerback and pass catcher are right there. Quarterback it should be in this conversation too. But think of it that way: we're packed up. 2 days of the draft are gone. We're about to go into day 3, where now you're just getting depth and dart throws in day 3. You at the end of day 2. All right, these are the guys who are really going to make a difference for the team. What's the position that scares you most if they miss on it?
Same with you, offensive line, and yeah, it's definitely a photo finish. It's like cars, you got to stick out your tongue to get to the finish line. But I'm definitely at offensive line because you need it so bad. You can get whatever offensive pieces you want. If you have nobody up there to protect them, what are you going to do? You saw what happened last year when Eric McCoy went down. Not saying you're getting the center because you're not, but you need a guard, you need a tackle, you need people to plug into other places. You saw how Penning can be serviceable, but that was with the Clint Kubiak staff. They're not here anymore. You don't know.
He only has 1 year left on his deal, even if
exactly.
If he is.
Exactly. So you have to start preparing for that, and I think it starts up front.
Yeah, that's my number 1. I mean, corners a little bit more, and pass catcher. I'm a little bit more take it at 9 or 40, but because then you'll get a cornerback 1 or a wide receiver 1 or a tight end 1. But if you don't get it at 9 or 40, I'm a little less, well, you just need a warm body. They've got some warm bodies at those positions. Like I need a new top dog at those positions.
Right.
I mean, those are my top 3 though. I mean, quarterback is its own tier or whatever, but those are my top 3 that, dream scenario, your first 4 picks are a quarterback, an offensive lineman, a pass catcher, and a corner.
And I think that'll set you up. But then also you need a pass rusher. Like
yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
there's things you need.
I think everything, man. Oh,
yeah. And so that's what
pass rusher is just as important as any of those. That's way more of a if you get a stud. That's like a 9 and 40 only. That's not a just bring a guy in here position for me.
Yeah, and for sure. And even that goes back to the original conversation about trading back and then acquiring more pieces. Can you do more of those? I think you kind of might need to, but if you feel
I'd love to see it.
It's a lot. It's a lot that needs to be done. And I don't think it can all be done in one draft. And
no, you're right.
Maybe that might be missing on a quarterback. I don't know. There's so many different scenarios you can go through and justify making those moves because of the consistent needs across the board.
Yeah, so give me 2 drafts. Give me a quarterback. Give me a pass catcher. Give me a offensive lineman. Give me 2 offensive linemen if we're talking 2 drafts. 1 year tackle, 1 year guard. Give me a corner. Give me an edge rusher. And all right, let's roll. Let's roll in 2026.
That's what it sounds like, man. It sounds like everything is lining up for 2026 to just.
I wish
Yeah,
it would
the
take that
beginning, the
approach.
true
at this point.
beginning.
I wish it would take that approach at this point. But I wish it would have taken that approach back when they could have done something with Derek Carr's contract. But anyway.
Exactly. And then what do you tell those older guys who still know what winning looks like?
Yeah.
You say, oh,
I don't have to quit trying in the meantime. I don't have to quit trying in the meantime, but I need it to be let's get back to competitive quickly. Maybe you guys will still be here.
that's a big hope, man. But we're going to hit another break, and then when we come back, we'll finish off the show.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience. Hey, if you're into the fried stuff, and let's be honest, who isn't? Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant just stepped it up. Their new cheese sticks actually stretch. The fried okra is crisp and seasoned just right. And the fried green tomatoes, that crawfish cream sauce takes it over the top. They're open every day, and they deliver late when the cravings hit. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Delicious food, superior service. Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our final segment presented by Shawberry Insurance, the Air Her Agency. Mike, I think it's time to cut the power, turn off the lights because it's getting really, really, really dark in here. Let's go through the dark history of the Saints' day 3 picks, man. It gets a lot of names to you. Oh, I remember that guy. Never really saw him, but I remember him.
Look, this took me by surprise. This is less of a topic of like, hey, would you rather, and it's more of we just need to remind people that the Saints have not added to their team on day 3 of the draft for a decade. I mean, there's some good ones in here. Carl Nix and Jermon Bushrod back in the day, but don't let that blind you to the fact that, I mean, here they are. Spencer Rattler was probably the best one they've had in a while just because he's a lottery ticket at quarterback. Bub Means, we don't know yet. Jalen Ford, we don't know yet. Christian Boyd, we don't know yet. Josiah Ezram, we don't know yet. Year before that, Saldiveri, Hayner, Howden, A.T. Perry, who they've already cut ties with. Year before that, DeMarco Jackson and Jordan Jackson. Year before that, Ian Book, Landon Young, still around, signed a second contract as a backup. Kawan Baker. Year before that, Tommy Stevens, their only day 3 pick. Year before that, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Obviously, that's a hit. 4th round. Saquon Hampton, Alize Mack, Caden Ellis. Great 7th round pick.
Yeah, I'm going to say Caden Ellis for Williams pick that the value is high.
Rick Leonard, Natrell Jamerson, Cameron Moore, Boston Scott, Will Clapp. Welcome back, Will Clapp. Al-Qadim Muhammad in 2017. David Onyemata, a huge hit in round 4 and 16. Daniel Lasco. Davis Toll, Tyler Davison, good job, 5th round. Damian Swan, Marcus Murphy, Kyrie Fort, Vinny Sinceri, Ronald Powell, Tavon Ricks. Kenny Stills was a hit. We're back in 2013 now. Rufus Johnson, Nick Toon, Corey White, Andrew Tiller, and Marcel Jones. So Greg Romeus, Nate Bussey, Al Woods, great career, just not with the Saints. Matt Tennant, Sean Canfield, Chip Vaughn, Stanley Arnew, Thomas Morstead. There we go. We got a hit in 2009. Obviously, my point is, I think everybody gets caught up doing their mock drafts. And everybody's like, all right, all those positions Mike and Brandon were just talking about. I'll get my receiver in round 4. I'll get my edge in round 5. I'll get my – if you look at the Saints draft history, you can count on nothing that's going to happen in day 3 except for hopefully I hit on 1 out of every 10 picks. Hopefully I hit on 1 out of every 5 picks for someone who will at least make the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
But I think very quietly, I mean, you've got a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a Caden Ellis. You got a couple of guys that were real success stories, but that is a short list over the last decade.
Who does Hofstra have, man? Can we go up there again and see what they have? Because it's just, I don't know, man. But even then, in their early picks, then you look and you have Foskey, and it's like,
oh yeah, there's misses all over the place. But I just don't think. I don't think I realized. I mean, I was looking for topic ideas, and it was funny. One I was going to be like, "Who's your favorite 2nd round pick they made?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that. That's obviously Mike Thomas." And I was like, "Who's your favorite?" Oh, hey, there's Jimmy Graham. You know, it's like, all right, Alvin Kamara, 3rd round. It's like, all right, who's your favorite day 3 pick? And I was like, whoa, it's dark.
yeah,
Whoa. We're not going to do a who's your favorite day 3 pick in the last decade. We're going to do a. Mike's just going to read off the list of these names and remind people, not that you shouldn't watch, hopefully it's a nice day. You're sitting outside on the porch with the outdoor TV or checking out NOF, what we've been writing the last couple of days. Tune in. The Saints have a lot of picks on day 3 this year. Just don't count on them. Do not count on them.
Oh, man. Yeah, it gets dark. It gets dark quick. It gets dark very, very quick. Again, you don't even know what Rattler is going to be. Right now, he's, at the top tier position of that, but you don't know what that's going to look like at the end of next year. You're going to be like, damn, man, that was another 5th that just got blown out the water. And then, I don't know, man. It just gets dark bad quick. It just gets there quick. Like, I'm not saying that you can't find a Colston because you've done it already, but just find some contributors. Because I think that question from a couple weeks ago of how many need to hit for this to be a good class, I think that number just gets higher and higher the worse this team gets. Yeah,
but I mean, that's why I really want to clutch onto those top 71 picks. Right now they have 3 of them. They have 9, 40, and 71. I want to make 3 picks in the top 71 because I think that's where you can really, like, look, you might hit on a Caden Ellis. That would be wonderful. If you hit on a David Onyemata or a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, home run. That happens once every 5 years on average. But it's really in those top 71 picks where we're going to be talking about people who are going to be like core starters of whatever this team turns into next.
Yeah, and that's definitely what you need is core starters, pillars, pieces, contributors. You need that. You need bodies on the field that are going to produce. That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate you all for tuning in today. Catch you next time.